WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. It's a day that I'm certain my guest at this time will not forget. I'm talking about the former Intercontinental Champion of the world, Macho Man Randy.
Nothing means nothing.
Nothing
means nothing.
Nothing means nothing. What do you mean by that?
Super Flag Bros.
Super.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
Division 6 Podcast. Division 6 Podcast.
And let me point to the president of the World Wrestling Federation, the Macho Man Randy Savage is not happy with your decision, yeah.
D's Delaries and P's Delaries.
I am the queen of the World Wrestling Federation, and there is no doubt about it, yeah. You mean Gene Okerlund. You know.
Welcome everyone, you are listening to and perhaps watching Super Flag Bros. I am joined in studio by my Super Flag Bro.
What's up?
D's Delaries. You can of course follow him at Dave's Republic. Behind the booth in the nest, so to speak, is the Eagle at Master Control. That was the one creative thing Mokan's ever said, so I'm going to run with it and pretend I made it up. He is, of course, doing all the technical work that none of us are capable of doing, except he still hasn't figured out how to get a soundboard, so he still says caw.
I think we determined that we're going to call him the Knob Master from now on.
Yeah, he's the knob master. If anyone was going to know how to properly use the knobs, it would be the Eagle Master Control. But another gentleman who was as comfortable with knobs of a different variety is the man whose face looks like latest results because he had the same problem that I had with the iPad earlier. It is our producer, Mokan. You might know him from Mokan and Friends, a Flintstones Extravaganza, and other made-up titles. I don't even know who that is, so...
Tweet your answers, and you might win yourself. What was that Snoop Dogg T-shirt that you had there?
We still have it, actually. It's waiting for Terrence Adams to be seen at the field. That's a very puzzling set of circumstances. If you are watching, remember, you can tweet us live. You know who that gentleman is. You can tweet us at EagleFPF or at Mocon19.
And where are we, Peas?
We are actually in the Sportira Dome. It's not even a dome.
Yeah,
but it is the cage.
Roof.
We're in the Sportira cage, where, of course, if it's in the game, it is in the cage, like the soccer game that you'll hear going on in the background. It's such a lively environment.
Yep.
We love being here. They are the official provider of FPF uniforms, and I think I now said enough about them to pay the bills. However,
yes.
A team paying the bills this week, once again, was the Smash Bros. They beat up on Been There Done That by a score of 38-18. We saw Been There Done That for the second straight week, putting up no points in the second half. What do you attribute this to, and how can they turn it around?
All right, first of all, how are you doing today?
Amazing.
Doing good? Okay, awesome. You guys? Good? All right. Yeah. They're a pretty good team. I got to say, this has to be the best 5-2 team I've seen in a long time. They're going to go steaming into the playoffs, and at this point, looking at the playoff standing,
which we'll get into.
We're going to get
in
into
a second,
later, but they're kind of at this point where they're standing. They're standing kind of in the middle of Conference B, which puts them in an interesting position because I think that they're going to have a pretty favorable matchup at that point. But this is the kind of team that they're going to be riding so much momentum going into the playoffs that I feel like they can take on any of these teams, like Blood Machines, FOTC, Los Guapos. I feel like they are the strongest, and it's really all relied on the fact that they have an incredible quarterback. Comes out, he throws a 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns.
By the way,
a lot of numbers of touchdowns right there.
Thanks.
If the playoffs were to start today, they would actually play each other again. Been There, Done That.
Who? Yeah, Been There, Done That
versus Smash Bros.
Which would be a fun game.
And I think it's cool. It kind of gives us a nice litmus test of what this is.
This game saw Dylan Weiss for Smash Bros. Coming out, catching 2 catches, and he scored his first 2 touchdowns in his FPF career. What is it about Smash Bros. That seems to have emerging players week after week? It seems like you get a handle of who's good in this team, and they have someone else who rise up the challenge and puts points on the board.
I'll talk specifically through my experience, having played with just a bunch of terrible quarterbacks. No offense.
This guy right here.
For those that don't know, me and Pease, we played on the same team. He was my quarterback, and I wasn't on your offense. I was not on your offense. It would be even worse if I was on your offense. But the fact is, I've had kind of never really had a superior quarterback until recently, until last season, where
You did come into the league with Anthony Carboni, who threw 41 touchdowns in the second season.
right, yeah.
So
You're
you've
right.
had quarterbacks. You
I
just
know
not last season.
I know, but I have selective memory.
Fred
so-
Morissette.
Fred Morris.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about now, like coming into the league and like I guess it's kind of different.
A
from-
franchise quarterback you're referring to?
franchise quarterback, having a guy like, and even with Carboni, it's not the same as having a Fred Morissette in a higher division, throwing touchdowns every game. You can kind of rely on that guy. Like, there's a certain amount of confidence that you have when you have that guy that's kind of propelling your offense. Like, when you have a certain amount of confidence that the ball is always going to be on target, when you have confidence that that your offense is going to be rolling, scoring points. There's something great about. There's a great feeling about it because Smash Bros score an incredible amount of points every week. They score 30 up every week, and if you have that, there's very minimal defense you need to play in that kind of game. So I feel like that's really the significant factor. You have a guy that comes in throwing multiple touchdowns. It's great that he has very good wide receivers as well. But in this case, we're talking about another guy that 2 touchdowns in his first time in the league. Like, it shows you that he's capable of spreading the offense if he needs to.
For sure, and that's it. Like, I think you get a lot of confidence that way. The role players on your team now feel that they can step up and take a spot on the offense. We saw that happening with Eddie Rousseau, who now scored another 2 touchdowns this week. We saw that this week with Dylan Weiss. Hopefully, great things ahead for him. A team that did experience some great things and has been doing so all season is No Name. They beat TDs in Beer in a tight contest, 21-18. Now, we've talked about No Name for the better part of the season.
Yeah. Well, not really. A couple of podcasts, but not like we talk about them every week.
They've been with the top teams throughout.
Yeah.
And we know how good their defense is, but is their offense strong enough to win FPF playoff games?
Well, I think so, and that being said, you know how we always talk about how like defense is super important in terms of offense. When we talk about how offense is extremely important going into the playoffs, I think this is a specific situation where I'd say that having a great defense is really going to benefit them in the playoffs. What I'm trying to say is that look, they've only allowed 72 points this whole season, right? And when you have a great defense like that, and you have an offense that you may not have a quarterback like Jonah Cohen, the guy that we were just talking about in Smash Brothers, but when you have a defense that only allows like maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns a game, like it gives your offense so much liberty to try out new things, to try out different things, to twerk things on offense. Like I feel like we have to look at this team in a different light. It's not just about having like the top tier quarterback. It's about having a top tier defense, and that in a way will transfer into your offense and make your offense great.
Eagle.
And one thing we see a lot of too when you're building a team, the defense usually takes a long time to get cohesion because as
Right,
an
yeah.
offense, you may have that quarterback receiver combination where you're on fire and you keep passing and that's how you gain yards. Whereas the defense, you really need to work as a unit together because one guy falls down and that's the kink in the chain, right? So you see after like week 5, week 6, the
Kink in the armor.
Kink in the armor. So you see week 5,
Well,
week 6.
if it's
near the end.
chainmail, he's not wrong.
That's true.
That's pretty good.
Can I continue?
Nope.
By the way, Chris Fields actually had 2 OCs in the game here. If there's one knock on this team right now for No Name, it's the fact that as talented as they are, there are elements, that could blow up at any given moment here and take a bad OC or a bad UR. And they've had that. The trend's been with this team. Yeah. A guy or two have a UR or OC along the way here. And that could cost them if they're in a tight game, especially as we approach the playoffs in a few weeks' time.
It makes me wish I knew the periodic table better so I can talk about which elements were in fact flammable and could explode at any moment.
You guys like H2O,
Hydrogen.
right? Hydrogen, oxygen,
Right.
makes water.
You know
right?
what? I'm the hydrogen. But that being said, like
Aw,
going to
that
what
would be
Mo said,
oxygen.
like I think that having that kind of attitude, yes, it can create URs, it can create penalties, but I just think there's just something about going into the playoffs aggressive, tough, with an attitude. They might create some penalties, but like I just find that when you're playing against a team that comes in really dedicated, really aggressive, kind of crazy-eyed, like it's like when you go on a date with a girl and she's got those crazy eyes, and you're like,
would imagine
wow,
so.
I don't know if I'm going to survive this one.
Terry Tam's got some thoughts on that date.
No, I agree 100%. You can't be a soft defensive team and try to win a championship.
absolutely. You
You
have
gotta
to
have
have
some
that.
edge. You gotta have some kick.
Have a little bit of attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know a little bit about some being soft. Has Jesse Racine good enough at quarterback to carry No Name?
What do I know enough about?
Don't worry about that. Is Jesse Racine good enough at quarterback to carry No Name?
Well, going to what I was saying before, I think that this is a kind of situation where, like, they have a good enough quarterback to carry them. Like, he's had very few games this season that were bad. Like I think that if he's able to put up like, okay, yes, he hasn't been putting up 5 touchdowns a game, 6 touchdowns a game, but having the defense that they do have, I feel like it kind of stabilizes their team. Like it kind of plays into them. Like I kind of think that like that having a team that creates stops, creates turnovers, it really helps your team in a sense because like it pumps you up. You know. It allows your team to do a lot more, and it gives your offense a lot more time to operate. So this might not be the case of a team that scores a lot of touchdowns, but it might be the kind of team that puts a stranglehold on another opposition and kind of forces them to. Like I don't know, to like work with it a little bit more, and I don't know, like I see a lot of this team specifically because of their defense. I think this is a very very good defensive team, and it translates onto their offense.
The Fatigues and Beer, Isaiah Allard had another
Fatigues and Beer or DTs?
TDs and Beer.
Yeah.
Fatigues.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Isaiah Allard having another huge game. He had 6 catches, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Does someone else need to step up on this roster? Do you know who it would be?
It's really hard to say at this point. Like I think that this it's kind of an interesting situation because like I feel like they're up and down as a team in general. Like they're doing pretty well in general, and they'll probably face off against each other in the playoffs as we just. Is it them that face off in the playoffs? Mo?
No,
it was our last game that would face off each other in playoffs.
Right. How does just so we just put a pause on this for a second? How does the playoff structure work?
We'll cover that in the next segment.
Awesome.
But to be fair, you can't access the prep because Facebook is terrible today. So I apologize to our viewers and listeners for that.
No, but I think that this team has.
So who's that next guy? Who's the next guy who has to step up?
But I don't know if you need that next guy. Like I don't know. I think.
So just to throw to my man Allard all game?
Why not? Like
because he's awesome. I agree.
But that's
if it was my team, nobody else would get the ball.
But I think that our
in fact, if I was quarterback, he probably wouldn't even get the ball because I would miss him all the time.
In a sense, I feel like flag football has a lot of similarities to basketball in some senses, and I'll explain that.
True.
And like in a sense that it's a very short game. There's very few players in the field, and when you only have 44 minutes in a game to create plays, and of those 44 minutes, you have 24 minutes on offense. Like I feel like you have to pinpoint the guy that makes plays, and if it's going to be Isaiah, like that's the guy you got to throw to, and if it's not working, you go from there. But at this point, I don't know if there's that many guys in the league that can cover
the problem
Isaiah's like he could.
Isaiah Allard has 16 TDs by himself.
Right.
The rest of the team has 7 total.
Right.
Maybe a guy like Miles Keller could be that guy, or Scott Booth. These are 2 guys that have had somewhat decent numbers. Obviously, you can't compare it to Isaiah Allard, who's had a phenomenal year, who's on his way of having over 500 receiving yards and just maybe over 20 TDs.
But my point is this: like, if you have Kevin Durant on your team, like, you're not going to pass anyone else. You might okay, and it's a little bit out of left field. But what I'm trying to say is like you have a main cog on the team. That's the guy that you got to go with. Like,
so what would a triple-double be in FPF?
Triple-double.
Triple-double is actually if you score multiple touchdowns, get double-digit interceptions, and you tell Eagle to shut up.
Yes.
So I get a single double every week.
Yeah.
Looney Goons took on the Fat and the Furious, and they win it 18-14. In this game, we see Matt Baitalan, who wins his second game in a row, but it's the second game in a row where the Looney Goons score have less than 100 yards of offense. Do you think this is sustainable?
It's funny because this is kind of like the battle of the lower division, right? It's a cut line. Like at this point, Looney Goons and Fat and the Furious, they're kind of like on that cut line of who's going to make the playoffs and who isn't going to make the playoffs. And like I feel like with Looney Goons, like yes, they were able to stabilize themselves and win this game, but not enough. Like I feel like when you're only scoring 18 points against one of the worst teams in the league, like it doesn't show too much about your team. Like, but just in general, it kind of seems to me like this was a really poor offensive game. Like there wasn't too much movement, a lot of interceptions on both sides. And
that would bring me to my next point. We see Bobby Spaghettis throwing 5.
Is it really Spaghettis?
I don't think so, but it's the most fun name to pronounce.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Bobby Spaghettis.
Mo, can we get a name check on this one?
I'll try to.
Huh?
I'll try to.
All right.
Okay, so my boy Bobby Spaghettis, he throws 5 interceptions, and like this is just a poorly managed game because one of the interceptions is a pick 6, and they lose the game 18-14. If he just throws that ball in the ground,
Right.
it's infinitely better, and they probably come out with a win. What would you suggest to Spaghettis to help him better pace the game?
Well, I think when you're having an issue with interceptions, it always comes down to simplifying the playbook. I think that's just something that we've discussed for seasons and seasons. Like and having played on teams where there's been a lot of interceptions, we see it. Like sometimes, like you're overthinking the game, but it's easier said than done, right? Like you just say, "Oh yeah, just simplify the game," and then you're going to stop throwing interceptions. That's not the case. Like sometimes the talent isn't there, And I think if it's not working, you need to find another solution in terms of who your quarterback is. But then that brings us to another situation. Do you even have someone else that can throw the ball? And I think in this situation, it's like it's not just about simplifying the playbook, but you're at a point in the season where you're probably not going to make the playoffs, but you probably need to start figuring out what you're going to do next season.
Yeah.
So at this point, you kind of need to figure out what works with your team. Also, figure out which players are going to come back. But more importantly, like what is it about your playbook or what is it about your team that you do like, and what is it that you can work on, and going forward, like kind of use these next few games to kind of like amplify your experience and try to win a couple of games or try to get something going on offense.
That's fair. When we come back from break, we'll talk about all the teams and their chances of getting into the playoffs, including Bobby Spaghetti's Fat and the Furious.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Pete Del Ruiz, and you are watching or perhaps listening to the Super Flag Bros in the Sportera cage, where, if it's in the cage, it's in the game.
You're in the cage.
Someone's in the cage. I don't know. Anyway, point is, we're at Sportera. If you have yet to get your jerseys for next season, remember, it's never too late to start planning. Order them ahead of time. They have some wonderful kits, as Mocon, we call them. Mocon, of course, is our producer. If you want to tweet him, you could tweet him at Mocon19 and tell him how terrible soccer is.
In the cage.
Absolutely. Although it's better in the cage, I would have to say. The Eagle at Master Control.
Wait, what's better in the cage?
Soccer.
Okay.
The Eagle at Master Control is, of course, turning my knobs and making me feel special tonight on this version of the podcast. And, of course, to my right is my co-host who appears every week, my Super Flag Bro, my brother, Deez Del Ruiz. Deez.
Yeah.
It's about time we start looking to the playoffs.
We should.
I'm going to call out the teams that in their standings, and we'll look at some of the teams. I don't know why you're screwing with the tablecloth.
It's because my hands are so clammy. My hands are really clammy. It's cold, so I got to make it less clammy.
But anyway, we'll look at the teams at the top. Yeah. We'll then talk about who's clinched. But at the same time, we'll take a quick look at who's on the cusp of making it. MK, if you can dig up some of the upcoming matches that we can discuss quickly, that would be awesome.
So essentially, this is a playoff breakdown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I use a lot of words to convey simple ideas.
He thinks a lot of words.
The standings are currently on the screen for our viewers.
Cool. So as the viewers can see and the listeners can hear, we have Conference A where we have No Name leading. They have 6 points. Sorry, they have 6 wins, 12 points. They're followed by the Falcons, 11 points. TD's and Beer at 10. Those 3 teams have clinched a spot. Redmond, Smoke and Axel's one-man show and are all tied with 8 points to the next 3 teams. They are separated, of course, by points against, which are the tiebreaker after divisional record and after points, of course. If it's only 2 teams, of course, there is a head-to-head tiebreaker, but because it's a 3-way tie, that doesn't come into play, because once you all beat each other, it's just an unhappy triangle. Tigers are at 7 with 6 points. Looney Goons at 8. And then we have the Fat and the Furious looking inside, and the Fuzzy Kittens as well. Both those 2 teams have 2 points.
Just a little heads up here for schedule-wise. No Name and Falcons will play each other last game of the year, which could very well be for first place and obviously a top-tier seed in the playoffs.
What if they both agree to just tie the game?
Well, Falcons already have a tie,
right,
so that wouldn't play out to their favor. A tie against No Name would effectively be a loss in that case for them.
And they could drop down even more again with TD and Beers only a point behind the Falcons.
And then in Conference B, we have Blood Machines, Flight of the Concords, both with 12 points. Flight of the Concords appears to be in second place. MK, are they really in second? Is there a head-to-head? Because according to the divisional record, Flight of the Concords are 6-0 in the conference. These standings, of course, come to us by Simon Dagenet. So if there's a mistake, remember, it's because he's not very good at his job.
Well, I think I'm just going to agree with Pease because he knows how to speak words. So
many words.
Funny enough, Blood Machines and FOTC will play each other the last week of the year, which could again be for the first seed in their conference playoffs.
Some good scheduling by FPF, I gotta say.
Pretty good.
Los Guapos, Smash Bros, been there, done that.
Can I just interrupt this because I know you hate being interrupted, but let me interrupt this. Can't we just change the format in the NFL where we just like towards the end of the season we can just change up matchups and make it favor like what the best matchup is?
A flex schedule.
Like a flex schedule, yeah, that's what it is.
They don't change matchups. They change what time they're on TV.
For that week.
They don't change who you're playing against.
Oh.
That would cost so much money in ticket sales.
Okay, let's not do that.
Let's not do that.
Uninterrupted. Go back.
All right, so then we have Los Guapos and Smash Bros at 10 points. Been there, done that, being the last team to clinch at 9 points. Then we have Jean-Guy, Big Blue Wrecking Crew at 7, Royalty at 8. Hashtag Baton outside looking in with 3 points. And then we have the Mile Public House looking out. They have 0 points. Do you think that either the Fast and the Furious or Fuzzy Kittens can make the jump up? And maybe MK, you can get us the schedules coming up. Do you think either of these two teams have what it takes to get to the next level?
At this point, I really don't think so. I think that Looney Goons winning against Fast and Furious this week was really the nail in the coffin. Nail in the coffin.
That's
nail
the
in the coffin. From what I see of the schedule, I believe that that Fast and Furious are going to be playing Smoking Axles. So in a way, they kind of have they have a good matchup. If there was ever a week for them to kind of move up, this would be it. But I don't see it. Whereas Fuzzy Kittens, they are going to be taking on One Man Show, which once again another winnable matchup. So they both teams have, but like with so few games left in the season, like. It's so hard to win games at this point when you're that low, you know, because there's a couple of things that come into play. Guys don't show up to play, like literally people don't show up, and also mentally people don't show up to play either. So those are the two things they got to deal with.
For Fuzzy Kittens, it can come down to the week 10 where they would play Looney Goons, and of course we all know Looney Goons are, I believe, 2 points up on the Kittens as we speak. So. The rest of the schedule, one man.
Actually 3 points.
3 points, right?
So Fuzzy Kittens would have to win the week before as well.
Right. They have One Man Show, TD and Beer, and of course they have the Looney Goons coming up here. So they have to win at least 1 out of 3, 1 out of 2, before they play that last game of the year, which could very well be for the last playoff spot.
It could, and I don't know. Like, and looking at the recent performances this week and previous weeks, like I don't know. I just don't think it's trending in that direction.
So we also have. In Conference B, we have Hashtag Baton and Mile Public House. Do you think either of those teams has what it takes to jump up? Looking at two teams in the Conference B that have struggled in Big Blue Wrecking Crew and Royalty above them. So do you think we'll see any movement there?
It's tough to say because this is a pretty trashy part of the division. Like I feel like there's 5 teams that are just really
like trailer homes and such.
No, but it's just like it's
boom boxes.
You have a bunch of 2-win teams. You have a bunch of 2-win teams. So this is super unpredictable. Whereas in Conference A, right, you do have 2 teams that have one wins, would have 1 win and they're at the bottom. But in this case, we have 4 teams that are playing terribly. 4 teams with low division records. I kind of think that for Baton, like for Hashtag Baton, I feel like they're kind of past that point because they haven't discovered their offense. There's no indication that they figured out their offense, and they're coming up against Blood Machines this week. I don't see them progressing in that direction. Whereas Royalty, they may have not Royalty. Sorry. Mile Public House, but then again, that's another team. Like Mile Public House, they haven't been able to find anything going on offense, and neither has Royalty. So anything can happen at this point. It's maybe the trashiest thing I've ever seen in my life, but someone's got to come out with that last spot, and whoever it is, even if they do get in, you're going to be coming in with a really tough matchup the first week of the playoffs. So.
That's fair.
MPH has Los Guapos, Royalty, and Hashtag Baton. So the last 2 games of the year could very well determine their playoff fates.
That's cool. And as we move forward, of course, we'll be looking at more and more of these playoff matchups. We probably won't do it every week, but as we get close to playoffs, at least week 9, week 10, we will see. We'll be looking at a lot more of these, and we will be keying in on some important matchups heading into the season. Deez, do you have any final thoughts and perhaps an angry rant to share with us?
So I was laying some brick at work, meaning I was on a bowl. I was on a bowl, right?
Dumsky, dropping a deuce.
And I just finished, and it was like the worst smelling thing you can ever imagine in your life. I ate tacos the night before, and as I was leaving, there was this boy. He was this new warehouse boy that's been working in the warehouse, right? And he was just standing outside waiting to get in, right? And the first thing I thought was, "Welcome to manhood, boy. You're about to enter that bathroom, and you're never going to come out."
It's DZ Del Rizzi's version, of course, of the bar mitzvah. It is an initiation of manhood like no other. When you walk into the restroom after it's been used by Deez,
after laying brick,
after the brick has been laid upon,
yes.
Really, there's no returning to childhood. All innocence is lost.
No return.
That's pretty terrible. Terrible. So, do you feel bad for the young man?
No. I think it's a good thing. I think he's gonna grow up, probably hit some puberty right after he leaves.
Do you so some straight up chest hair right after that?
Maybe.
What are your hopes? What are the top 3 careers for this young dude?
What am I? What?
The top 3 careers this guy will end up doing because of that experience.
A, bricklayer, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes. B,
which is a steady career, great income.
Maybe a doctor if he's lucky. He might smell that and say, "I got to figure out what's wrong with this guy."
And I got to help other people. With
and then third, he'll probably become a lawyer. It's like, I got to defend people against this kind of nonsense.
So either he's going to be the public defender,
right,
or the public defiler of bathrooms. Right. MK, any final thoughts?
I actually got some breaking news, which will break on your show with GM Calathris.
Calling the audible?
Calling the audible.
That's
cool.
Which is coming up.
Working the phones.
It's a trade.
Coming up at about 8:30 p.m.
Can you trade an FPF?
It has happened once.
Really?
Yeah.
This is possible.
2 teams can agree to drop a player, and then they can sign with their team.
Awesome. We should so do this more often.
I've tried to trade you several times. The best offer I got was a pair of gloves from Hyman Long, which I consider heavily.
You should take that.
Because my gloves smell like vinegar and a brothel. Eagle, final thoughts? Indeed. Well, you need to get a soundboard.
Yep.
Anyway, my Thursday lesson plan, everyone, of course, is it's getting close to crunch time. It is the time where you need to start pounding down those wins, getting into proper position, because this is part of the season where you get your team into the playoffs. It's still not too late for any team. Nobody is out of it just yet. So for the teams that need to win, just win. For teams that need help, just get help.
Can we tell people to show up to their games and not just quit on their teams?
Well, yeah, that would be awesome. Actually, we don't want to get teams forfeiting games. We've all played to play in this league. It's fun. Make sure you show up every week and do what it takes to be competitive and just have a good time. Have fun out there. That's all it is. You look very disturbed.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, I want to thank you for having that creepy face.
No problem.
Because it means that you got the part of the genetic pool.
Was that
Eagle, thank you for... Oh, this is not that show. That's why you're putting this song as a sign-off. I was very confused.
What's the sign-off?
I don't know yet. MK, thanks for all the work you've done today. And remember everyone, I'm P. Del Rees reminding you that. Bye.